Yes, they
start.
do. Yes, and they better take advantage of it.
They better, because they've got a horrendous stretch coming down the road. And that's one of the things to look at. You were pointing out the fact that Lugo...
Right. It's very unusual to me. Maybe it's a reflection of the opponent.
Not going to pitch.
That most teams, as I looked at the pitching probables for today, are resetting and starting with their opening day start. Well, now maybe the Royals are doing that. It didn't Waka start opening day?
No,
Reagan's
did.
Oh, it did Reagan's? Okay. Well, right, they're not doing that either. Waka's starting. So I don't know the logic behind what they're doing, but Lugo isn't pitching till Sunday. But then again, the White Sox aren't pitching Garrett Crochet, and I don't know what the heck's going on there. He's not pitching this weekend, which is great, which is another reason that the Royals, I think anything but a sweep this weekend was going to be disappointing. It never should be disappointing if you win 2 out of 3. That's a Major League Baseball team. They've won 28% of their games so far this year. Every year when somebody's having a season this bad, it just reinforces how absolutely dreadful the Mets were. Because all you got to do is look at their team's winning percentage and go, the Mets were 250.
Yeah.
That's all you got to remember.
All kinds of teams have...
Easy round number, 250 winning percentage.
All kinds of teams have started down that road. Well, they were at a pace, too, and then they win 5 out of 6. You're like, well, that's done.
Right.
Yeah.
That's all it
White
takes
Sox
is
keep
1 week.
trying, though.
I know.
They keep
but the A's were that team last year.
The opposite of firing and falling back.
The A's were like 10-50 or something. That's all it takes is 1 good week to ruin that.
The A's have been kind of a representative bunch since the really early part of the season. They've been a team that's kind of a tough out.
But you need to handle business against the White Sox. I'm not going to say if you go 1-2 against the White Sox, it's over. It won't be, but you've got to start handling those games.
Well, they got 15 games in this nice stretch, and 9-6 is minimum to me. Or then my prescription of them being a 500 team for a good stretch here in late July and August becomes that much more difficult. But they just...
It's actually 16. It's a 4-game set with Detroit.
If they could get out of the habit of just completely laying offensive eggs in games. I mean, they're not a great offensive team.
On the road.
We know that, but they just have far too many games where they get zip or 1.
Yeah.
And
that's mostly on the road.
Hard to win. Remember, we talked about it a lot.
Yeah.
They were actually winning a decent share of games when scoring 2 runs or less early in the season. That's impossible to keep going.
Their splits home and road are crazy. They're one of the top 3 or 4 teams offensively when playing at home, and they're one of the bottom 3 on the road. And
because they had a nice run scored.
Yeah, they had a nice run toward the end of until those last 2 games in Boston, when they scored 6 runs in 4 consecutive road games for the first time in like 2 years.
All I know is the Royals have many a series where they score 13 runs. That's a representative amount.
But oftentimes
it's
10, 2, 1.
Yeah, exactly. Give me 4-4-5 here, and we got a good fighting chance to win this series. 0-1-10, or 1-2-10 doesn't work.
But part of the problem on the road is that one of the guys, their best player, has massive split differences. His OPS, Bobby Witt Jr.'s OPS, is 400 points higher at home than it is on the road. That's got to even out a little bit, and you got to hope that it's the bottom part coming up, not the high part coming down.
That's hard. That's hard to. You would think that that's just an aberration, an anomaly, whatever word you want to use, because he's just too good to just go out and stink on the. Well, he doesn't stink on the road, but I mean he's just an average ball player on the road offensively. That shouldn't happen. Melendez is good at home. As bad as he's been this year, his numbers are good.
Well, what do you attribute that to?
I don't even know if
they finally have got these gap hitters, and so the gaps are there, and it works at home.
I don't know.
Which they talked about forever.
It just seems like they have a lot of those big explosive games at home. I think that's really part of it. That's this sort of
anomaly more than anything.
Right, I think so. I turn those 11-run, 13. They're good at piling on. So if you drop those down to like a 7-run game, they're probably 18th in baseball.
And he'll be on the shelf anyway for a little while.
To Soren's
yes.
To Soren's point, I think you can attribute to the stadium somewhat, because it's more difficult to hit home runs in that stadium, but it is, I don't want to say easier, but more likely to hit doubles, and especially if you got a speedy guy like Bobby.
People think it's a pitcher's park. It's really not. It's a good. You don't hit many home runs, but it is a good offensive park if you hit guys who hit line drives and can run.
If that's what it is that they finally achieved what they've been. Well, we want gap hitters and we want guys who can hit doubles. I mean, that plays to our ballpark. Well, it really sucks away from your park. Like, you've achieved what you always wanted, and guess what? It's not working. You're 13th in runs scored. It's a bad plan.
I don't even really think that's.
Well, I don't think that's it either. No. But I'm just saying, if that's it, then
one of their most productive players is Sal Perez, and he's an uppercut fly ball player.
Well, and can we also agree that like they that isn't their plan when you draft Jack Caglione?
No.
I mean, your plan is to join the masses and hit the ball over the wall.
This is
By the way, this is just a fun note. What happened to that one syllable in the guy's name? How do you get Jack Caglione out of that?
Yeah, it's
like they said, that's too many. The Cagliones all just looked at it and said, that's too hard.
I'm pretty sure that's an Ellis Island screw-up. I'm pretty sure somebody added some vowels when they were coming in, is my guess.
And by the way, I just look at their...
Or added a consonant when they were coming in.
Their offensive splits. Royals, they've played the same number of games at home, essentially, as they have on the road. Just get one difference. 53 homers at home, 48 on the road. They're still hitting the ball out. Where it drops is they have 20-some fewer doubles and 10 fewer triples. It's that gap stuff is not happening on the road.
Maybe it is driven by that. But when you look at their team, though, it's like, I don't know, Renfro's really a fly ball hitter. Melendez is, I guess he's a guy. Well, we don't know we don't know what kind of hitter.
I'll sit that one out. You figure that one out.
Witt's got an uppercut swing, but he's not, I would say, just a fly ball guy. But Perez is.
Witt gets the ball in the air. Witt does what you want him to do. But
I think the key to this, the key to beat the two good series against Chicago, is the fact that the Diamondbacks and the Cubs are under 500, but they're dangerous. They're as good as the. I would say they're as good as the Royals.
Well, think about this. What is the wash? You know, I talk about the wash in the NFL is from 10-6 to 6-10. What is the wash in baseball? We'll take a break. Danny Klinkskill's with us. He's brought to you by our friends at Easton Roofing. Joe Spiker and his team. They're the best when it comes to putting a roof over your family's head, putting a roof over your business's head. If you're a property manager, Easton Roofing offers turnkey solutions for all their jobs to make sure your business is not disrupted. Did you know that Easton Roofing can write warranties on commercial flat roofs up to 30 years? Only a handful of companies across the entire country can say that. We've had a lot of storms going through here. Get that roof checked. Inspections are free. Estimates are free with Easton Roofing. Online at eastonroofing.com.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
Hey Kansas City, Joe Spiker, Easton Roofing, back for another beautiful springtime in Kansas City. We are proud to announce our renewed partnership with Big Brothers Big Sisters of Kansas City. Starting in 2024, a portion of every job sold will be donated to a cause close to my heart. I was a big, and I encourage you to volunteer. And if you hire us for service on your residential or commercial roof, you'll know that a portion of the profits will go to a great cause. So call us at 913-257-5426. Easton Roofing. Integrity matters.
Talking to Danny Klinkskill, little Danny Unleashed here in the program, brought to you by Easton Roofing. The best when it comes to getting your roof fixed, whether it's the biggest commercial roof you got, maybe it's just a small home. Either way, Easton Roofing has you covered. They've partnered with Big Brothers Big Sisters, and now a portion of every job Easton Roofing does goes to Big Brothers Big Sisters, giving back to Kansas City like no other, locally owned and operated. That's Easton Roofing, online at eastonroofing.com. Dan, what did I say? We'd come back and I'd ask you?
What's the wash?
Oh, yeah. What is the wash in baseball? Are the Royals, are they the same as like the teams that you mentioned? They're playing the Cubs and Diamondbacks. Are they really just the same teams? Because I think 9-7 and 7-9 is the same team in the NFL.
I think that because the Royals are 7 games over 500, and for a long time they've been under 500, I would say they're kind of in the wash. And there's a lot of teams in the wash this year. And we've had enough games now that we can create what would be called the wash. Because for a while in baseball, you can kind of be buried, but there's a lot of games left. And so you can come from 10, 12, 13 games under 500 and have a good season. The Twins have done it this year. The Astros have kind of done it already this year. But
to be clear, there are great teams, there are good teams, there's the wash, there's bad teams, and there's god-awful teams.
I think this year in baseball, there's great teams and bad teams and the wash. I think that's what we've seen so far this year. And there's sort of not... Now, maybe there's teams that are good but have played themselves into the wash, like the Astros, teams like that. But... So I think the Royals, yes, they're in the by the way that
is there anything different between the Royals and the Rangers? I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think the
Royals and Tigers.
I don't think so, really.
Yeah.
I mean, the Tigers are starting to play better again right towards the All-Star break, or not again. They finally started to play better, and I think the Royals with their veteran additions are slightly better than the Tigers, but. The Tigers have underachieved. I think that's fair.
I think that's fair, and I think the Royals are better when they got all their guys.
Right.
Now maybe what we're going to see is MJ Melendez, like Hunter Renfroe, who started hitting and then, when they thought cracked his toe or whatever it was. What did he have? What was his injury that put him out for a little bit? Then he was right back.
Yeah, it was toe.
Yeah, and he was hitting again. Like if MJ Melendez comes back and he's hitting, well.
Yes.
This looks a lot better.
I mean, if Hunter Renfroe even is Hunter Renfroe, not what we've seen, the last 6 weeks or so, which is better than that, and Melendez is good, and their lineup lengthens out. I mean, and also they've been
Isbell and Garcia.
They've been really weighed down by Garcia. He's been dreadful for quite a long time. Isbell's been a little bit better. So, Garcia's the one who's dragging him down right now. But that's only one. But the other guys have to, continue this uptick. And the ones that's worrisome is Melendez. First of all, he's hurt right now. And secondly, he's just never done it. So, that part. And the other part we have to worry about is the wear and tear on the starting staff, which anybody can see and has mentioned that the innings load is going to start becoming something that's real, and will they be able to handle it? And maybe, who knows, maybe they'll handle it this year, and then next year they'll all break down. But like I said, I think the Royals are absolutely good enough to be competitive the rest of the way, and that's all they need. All they need is to be a win one, lose one team the rest of the way, and they'll be in the fight. And then maybe you take, you get a little mini hot streak in the middle of September, and you're in.
We before the season started, one of the themes we had, I know that I had, was if they're going to win it, it's going to be because the young guys step up, right? Like Michael Wacha's not going to go win you a Cy Young. And I said Seth Lugo's not going to go win you a Cy Young. He's in the mix.
He certainly is.
So I will admit being wrong on that through this part, but I do expect a regression back to the norm for Lugo. I'm not saying he's going to be bad. I just don't think he's going to be All-Star game starter good.
And I think Wacha's been maybe a little bit better than you would have expected, too.
Maybe, but not off the charts.
They never score
It's Cole Reagans and Brady Singer that are going to have to lead the way. Alec Marsh taking a step. I do think it is still the young guys that are going to have to do it.
And we can't see what we've seen so far in his career, which is, his career is on an upward arc, is that Bobby Witt will have himself a bad month here or there.
They can't. July.
They can't afford that now.
Yeah.
He's still got to be a star the rest of the way. And I think every indication is that he will be.
We hope you enjoyed the latest Danny Klingscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Come back soon for something fresh and new. This podcast was made possible by our great sponsors like Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. Joe Spiker and his team are the best in the business for all your roofing needs, handled with honesty and craftsmanship. Visit them at eastonroofing.com.